Hi. Oh my goodness. I could not be more excited. Wow. When you show up in community and you're showing up knowing that you're helping people to get better, you're helping people to live powerfully. There is something truly magical about that. So that's what we get to do is we get to show up in true, authentic glory, right? Where we get to just show up, showing you and inviting you to be a part of this journey. So I get to talk about a couple of things. I think we have the flyer for this series, which is going to be happening. Yay, I'm so excited. This is actually happening. Not only is it happening almost immediately, I just made it a little bit bigger than me. Maybe I messed it up, Daniel. Okay, there you go. So starting Monday, May 6th, we are kicking off a 6-week training series right here. You'll see us live right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. We're also inviting you to join us live at the New Beginnings Christian Fellowship. And we're bringing in the science of transformation, the science of true empowerment. And the series is part of this Getting Better Together empowerment series, right? How we're doing it is partially what I call the living powerfully experience with positive intelligence. But I'm also bringing in transformational coaches. You see here, Ms. Debrina Jackson-Gandy. I'm bringing in Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton, who has been leading a series in 2024 called Get Better. Get Better. You'll see a promo here in a moment where we actually brought in some clips of him asking all the right questions to have this man, this visionary, talk about like how we can all transform. It's so powerful. And then Reverend Dr. Linda Smith, who I actually got to bond with tremendously during the MLK anniversary. And it was so exciting because, we were leading a series called, it was like not a commemoration, but a continuation. So if we're celebrating MLK, we're celebrating him in such a way that allows us to show up and say, what can we do to also continue the dream? What can we do to be a part of true change, to be a part of true transformation? And that is so exciting. So what you're going to hear about today is I'm bringing Dr. Linda Smith, again, senior pastor of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Baptist Church, to really amplify this conversation around transformation. She told me that she was leading a coaching community for years. Her PhD, her doctorate is in transformational coaching. So if you've ever wondered what is wrong with me when I declare a resolution, I say I'm going to do a thing and I don't do it, what can I do differently? Nothing's wrong with you, by the way. We're humans. So this is how you get to show up differently, though, right? We're going to talk about those things that allow us to truly show up differently. And so, I think Reverend Doctor, I think she might be here. we'll let her know. So when she comes on, just bring her right on, Daniel. Thank you. What the other thing I wanted to share is the how we get to show up, how we show up in community. And I know I've shared this previously, but I really wanted to get each of you to talk about, and go ahead and put in the chat, because we are able to engage with you in the chat. Go ahead and tell us more about what you hope to accomplish. What do you plan to accomplish in 2024? What do you plan to accomplish? What do you know that is something you can do in 2024? That's what we're going to help you with. So when someone says, so what is this about? We say it's getting healthier, getting happier, getting wealthier, and getting wiser. It's whatever you want to create in your life. That's what we're going to be focused on. That is what really gets me excited, is that we actually get to show up and say, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish in life? What do you want to accomplish as a part of your business? And there's another flyer that actually shows the it shows the sponsors. Maybe let's see if it's here. So I'll just tell you about them. We have 2 sponsors over the next 6 weeks that allow us to show up and bring on speakers, paid speakers, right, to talk about their experience. So King County is one of them. And I think I see Dr. Yes, Dr. Linda, I see you here.
Yes.
So we got to fix your camera. We got to have you angle the camera down and get all that together. So, all the way down, even more if you can. Daniel's working on it. There you go. All right, you're looking good. Okay, now I'm going to want you to bring it down a little bit more, because last time we did the video clips, you had your name tag was too close to your face. So there you go. If you could do a smidgen more, I'd love that even more. But that's way better. This is exciting, y'all. This is what happens when you do a live show. You show up and you just get it together. Well, you look gorgeous, Dr. Linda, Reverend Dr. Linda Smith. Dr. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm well.
I love it. You said you had a little bit of a cold, but yet you still showing up. You had a little scratchy throat, but yet you're showing up for us. Why is it so important that you show up for community and continue to do this work to help others to get better?
Well, I'm always excited about work that involves change, anything that involves with, just transforming people's lives, because I believe that, as stated before, that the gift of life belongs to us all. And oftentimes we miss that because we don't do the work that we need to do to make that happen. So I'm excited about this bigger conversation, because it allows people individually to tap into their own greatness and their own genius, and begin to live that out, as opposed to be, burdened down with things that does not make for life, things that are destructive. So that's what gives me excitement.
I love it. And what I love about this is, you would have thought, there's a couple video clips we're going to share here. You would have thought we've all been talking and collaborating for weeks, months, and years, when you pull up these clips of us being very aligned, talking about the same things, which is why I was like, this is just too divine. This is too divine, right? It's just like a divine connection when God has sent you on a journey. My journey has been like, how do we show people the science around transformation? And now we get to also bring in, this spiritual, the extra spiritual powers that come with that as well. So the science behind it, it's all proven to work. And then we got people with testimonies like yours and say, I've been doing this type of transformational coaching. Tell me about the history that you have with your transformational coaching and helping people in community.
Well, I have a sort of a lengthy, and so I'll give you the short of it. I've coached pastoral leaders and leaders in the doctorate program at Seattle Theology School of Ministry for about 10 years. And that work involved working with individuals to help them to, to understand who they are at the inner work that we all have to do. Helping them to identify choices that create positive, life-giving outcomes, and really discovering the core of their identity and learning to practice that, having an intentional work around getting better, so that as they interact with others, then they're passing along those things that are life-giving to people. I've worked with domestic abuse healing circles. I've done those for years, working with individuals who have experienced domestic abuse and helping them to just navigate that path, that spiritual healing. You can get out of it physically, but if you're still hanging on to those things that block your life, it's important that those issues are processed. I've worked in the marginalized community for over 15 years, doing what I call spiritual healing circles. And that's been around helping people to come to know who they are and to create solutions and identify solutions to help them to identify and examine and remove obstacles that prevent them from reaching their highest level of living. And again, like I say, and set goals and develop a plan of action to achieve those. I worked with, I was the founder of what we call the Center of Hope. I took an old jailhouse and turned it into a center for homeless families and women here in my city. And so started from scratch, taking an old jail and transforming it.
Wow.
And that to me was transformation at its best. So I'll just sort of stop there, and we can engage in later on in other conversations. But I've done community healing circles on racism within the community, and living life abundantly circles for over 15 years with women who are trying to live to the fullness of who they've been created to be.
I love this. So you said a little bit about community healing, and we all are focused on the work around transformation. So, and the last time we spoke, you said, you know what, if people don't work on their own themselves, work on their trauma, work on the things that hold them back, we call those the saboteurs. If we don't work on those things, then we can't get better. We can't truly transform if we're not willing to work on those things that require healing. So if you had to talk to someone about the importance of truly digging deep, right, and healing from the inside out, and then really just recognizing, hey, this is something maybe that I used to do, but this is what I'm gonna do now. Like, this is how we transform, as we just make different decisions, right? We get to decide differently, as we heal. So tell us a little bit about your strategy around healing and the importance of healing when it comes to transformations.
Well, we are spiritual beings having human experiences. And in our spiritual lives, hope is always a thread that weaves itself through every moment, connecting us to something greater than ourselves. And it really is the force that reminds us that in our existence, each of us have a unique and meaningful role to play in life. And so the important part of really, first of all, is I always ask people, the question is their awareness. Are they aware of the things that's impacting them? And that to me is always like the starting point, because one of the things is we walk around as people who are hurt and we don't know that we are hurt. Hurt people hurt people. And so when we walk around with trauma and and sometimes we don't even know we have trauma. But unhealed trauma only leads to further division and violence in our lives and also in the communities that we're associated with. So if it's important to be able to be aware, first of all, that uh, I I'm hurting. There's something inside of me. There's a wound inside of me that needs to be
Mm-hmm.
healed. And so the importance of addressing
Mm-hmm.
unaddressed trauma, the wounds that we have, then we never heal. And so when we're healed, we bring more healing into the world. And so that means everyone that we're in contact with, we're bringing our healed self as opposed to our wounded self. Henry Down talks about the wounded healer. And I love his work because it talks about as as I'm wounded, but as I'm healed, I now go into the world as the wounded healer, and I'm able to
Mm.
help other people to be able to process it. So, um,
I love
addressing
that.
addressing that part of us is so important in terms of being having a transform um, self, but also being a transformative person to the world because I can't help you if I'm not healed. And
Mm.
so I take my healed self um, to engage with others, and vice versa. They will do the same thing as they become aware of their
Mm.
woundedness.
Yes, I love it. I love that so much. So you talked about people need to be aware of what might be holding them back. And as a part of this work, again, we're bringing this high level implementation around positive intelligence into community. And then we're adding transformational coaching and success coaching and all kind of spiritual coaching and all kind of stuff, scientific evidence related to neuroscience. So we're bringing all this together as a part of this conversation, which is what makes it so rich and powerful. And then when you have real people asking questions, it's powerful too. So I remember we talked about you doing a saboteur assessment. Do you remember anything about that? I did my own. And my saboteurs, my top saboteurs are like controller, achiever. And when you know that, then you can actually choose to show up differently, right? If I know controller is one of my things, one of my past things, right? Hyperachiever, doing too much was another thing. It's like, okay, if I know that's likely how I've shown up, I get to do something. I get to choose differently. So I heard you say, um, when you're healed, the wounded healer, right? We're healed. We continue to be on a healing journey, and then we show up to help others. Talk a little bit about things that you feel like or some of the things you've healed or maybe some of the saboteurs that you might see showing up so that people know that we're all on a journey of transformation.
Yeah, ironically, controller is one of my saboteurs, and uh, being a stickler. I call those my inner critics. So
Mm.
being aware of those allows me to always stay in check with me. So when I'm working in community with others, it caused me to step back and ask the question: am I trying to control this situation, or am I allowing others to um, utilize their gifts in order that we might get to where we need to get? A lot of my controlling came out of the fact that uh, I felt like well, of course, you feel like you have to be in control of things, but also it's like, I need to get this done and I want it done now. So, being over anxious about um, getting things done and sometimes pushing other people beyond their own comfortable zone. So, being aware of my leadership style really helps me to be able to be better in community, but also get a better product and allows other people to uh, me not to hurt other people in the process and intimidate them, but allow them to also be able to rise to their greatness. So that was one of my main ones, and I think it turned from being a savior mentality to a controller. And I'll say that because I had done an earlier assessment when I was in seminary, and it identified me as a savior mentality. So those are sort of the kind of the same thing, because you're controlling. You feel like you got to do things. You feel like you have to be in charge, So, so that's an inner conflict, that only I can take care of, and only I. But by being aware of that, I'm astutely aware about who I am, and I'm able to be in community with people, always taking a deep breath and stepping back and saying, how am I presenting myself? How am I showing up today?
Yes.
How am I communicating with people? Am I communicating in a way that's going to hurt other people? Or am I communicating with them in a way that's going to continue to lift them up and allow them to elevate their gifts?
Yes. I love everything you're saying, because we show up, like you said, as vulnerable, authentic beings who we got something to share, but we're also on a journey, right? We're also continuing, right? Continuing to heal. And I think that's one of the things that I find to be truly powerful. So you mentioned the controller, you mentioned the stickler, right? And we have a free saboteur assessment that people can take. You can go to positiveintelligence.com. Again, this 6-week program that we're going to take you on, it actually allows you to truly get the key nuggets around who you are, how you can show up differently, how you can choose differently, but then how you can. You mentioned performance. You mentioned relationships. Like we say, it's about performance, improving your performance, your well-being, and your relationships. But you just laid it out. You just broke it down you just broke it down. So you can take your free saboteur assessment at positiveintelligence.com. You go basically halfway down the page, you'll see this orange block, and it'll be a judge with a hammer. And basically that's the saboteur. So it says, take your saboteur assessment right here. It takes about 5 minutes. And you do it, and then you can email it to me, Traci. I'll put my email in the chat. Share your results. We will actually provide you with a little insight around how might it be holding you back, right? We'll have that conversation. How might you? And then we're doing this free in community, by the way. You could show up. We want to grant through racism is a public health crisis, and it's for anyone, and it's for everyone. It's for our community. It's for leaders to show up and then be able to literally release what might be holding you back, whatever saboteurs it might be, because we all have different ones, but we're human, so you got to have some if you're human, right? It's beautiful. It's actually a beautiful opportunity for us to truly transform.
Dr. Traci, may I add?
Please.
So when you're talking about the saboteur assessment, I think that's really important, because the process of healing is necessary to unblock one's aspiration and encourage the growth of the person. And so one of the most important things is, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is awareness of either having been wounded, and there's been a traumatic experience in your life, or just, like you say, the assessment gives us an idea of the things that's really sort of blocking us. And so that is always like the number one place to start. So that's why I think that assessment is so powerful, and it sort of opens your eyes. You become aware of what it is that's on the inside of me that's stopping me from like you said, being better together, living more hopeful, living more peaceful. And once you become aware of that, then I think that's like the starting point. And then we have to have the necessary strength to do it and to be motivated to heal. And that's what I like about the community conversations that you're navigating and facilitating for us.
I love it. And so we're going to show one of the videos. One of the questions that Pastor Braxton asked was, do you really want to get better? Go ahead and share video number 1 for us.
Do you want to get better?
I trouble you with the question because one of the oldest sayings in the Western world, which all of us have heard and used more times than we could ever begin to count, is the statement of where there is a will, there is a way.
When the will is there, then choices are congruent with the will, and then the results are congruent with the will. So there's conversation, there's statements. So if it keeps being about, hey, we're trying, we're really working on it, the will isn't there. When the will is there, it happens.
You have to have the will. Do I want to be better? Do I want to be made well? And once I say yes to that, then the pathway to my healing and my wholeness start.
Do you want to get better?
Decisions determine your destiny, y'all. You love that. It was so easy to connect the dots because we're all saying the same things in a slightly different way that allows you to build, because we've had different experiences. Decisions determine your destiny, y'all. If you got the will, there is a way. Multiple ways, right? Unique and customized to you. You say a lot, Reverend Dr. Linda Smith, you like to say, nobody knows you like you. That means no one can transform you but you. Only you can make those decisions to truly help you to transform. But when you do it in community, it's so much easier, so much more fun when you get better together.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like accountability partners. And, sometimes, we hold our woundedness close to us. And when we feel like, we're the only one that's like that, it stops us from willing, I think, willing to get help. And to me, by doing it together as a community, it's like, well, Linda got some things going on with her, and Dr. Traci got some things going on. Oh, so I'm not alone out there. And there's a power when two or three are together, you can do greater things. So I think, the community piece is so important. We heal together, we're better together. It's really powerful.
I love it. So it looks like we have to take our first commercial break. We are free right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. We will be right back with more of Reverend Dr. Linda Smith and more of the Living Powerfully experience.
When I'm not busy tearing the roof off the suckers, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. This program offers healthcare, housing, transportation, and recreational activities. There are no copays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE works to keep you healthy and in your home. Call 206-320-5325 or visit providence.org Elder Place. Providence.org Elder Place.
1, 2, get down.
What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Maraire, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Hello, I'm Tony Young, and every week I will be your guide to the music of the Fab Four with my show With the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, those four lads from Liverpool. First airings are Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. with repeats on Thursdays and Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Tune in to catch Beatlemania.
This is an important message about coronavirus. With coronavirus still spreading, those who are most likely to get seriously ill must take extra precautions. You are at a higher risk for getting seriously ill if you are over 65 or if you have any serious underlying medical conditions, like heart disease, chronic lung disease, like asthma, diabetes, or if you're undergoing cancer treatment. If you're at a higher risk for getting seriously ill, it's essential you take extra care to protect yourself. Stay home, avoid close contact with others, wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds, disinfect frequently touched objects like doorknobs and light switches. The choices you make are critical, and their impact is significant.
Rainier Avenue Radio, Seattle's best music, talk, and sports station.
Hey y'all, this is Dr. Traci Harrell, and we are here with Reverend Dr. Linda Smith. She is the pastor at Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Baptist Church. She also has a doctorate in transformational leadership and coaching, and she's decades of experience in coaching. So I could not be more excited. I felt like it was divine intervention. We met at an event. We connected during MLK, but then I saw her at an event, and then I was telling her what I was doing. She's like, "Oh, I love this," and I was like, I was gonna reach out to her. Like, she was actually already on my list, but it was just a lot happening. And so when I saw her, I was like, look at God. I was like, look how these connections just came back. And I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. It's because we kept talking about what we were going to continue to do. This is not MLK, the 60th anniversary of MLK's March on Washington, right? Which we said this was not a commemoration, it was a continuation. We said we were going to show up in community. This is what showing up in community looks like. We invite you to be a part of true transformation. This is how we show up in community together. This is how we get better together. And then we're able to leave something for the next generation. Do you feel like, without a doubt, when you show up in community, especially on video, and we're recording and using social media, and creating a new conversation where this is really what success looks like, right? Being able to show up with self-command and managing yourself and realizing that, we have to heal ourselves, and together we can heal ourselves and work with others to do this in a way that says, I get to truly change the status quo. Like, I get to change lives for generations to come. How excited, Dr. Linda, where are you at with the concept of each person can be a part of this process, a part of community healing and community transformation? If you had to tell someone why they and how they could be a part of it, what would you say?
You mean how and why they should be a part of it?
Like, how they can be. You mentioned the word awareness. We're going to talk about more about action, but the accountability that we have when we show up for each other, right? This concept of community healing, we are the community. So as we heal ourselves and as we show up in things like this with a level of consistency, not one time, right? 6 weeks isn't even enough time, but it's enough for us to build new habits and to begin to create the community that we want to see, to begin to heal, to really work through a process. So tell us a little bit, if you had to talk to someone right now who was like, I don't know about this, how they can be a part of truly helping to transform the community, and how they can be, just through their own healing, can help others to heal as well.
Well, thank you. That's a really good question. During the George Floyd era, Black Lives Matters, we did a lot of marching, we did a lot of community gathering and being with each other, and just the pain of the past really sort of continues to raise this ugly head, and it create pain inside of us. So one of the things that really brought to light for me is that unaddressed trauma causes more hurt and pain, and we really want to heal our world, and that's what our whole purpose of protesting was about healing. And it reminded me that when we're healed and we work on ourselves, we break that cycle of trauma, and so the cycle of trauma have to be broken within our community, but it starts with us first, with all of the things that we have going on, past traumas and all the other historical traumas that we're exposed to, sometimes prevents us from being healed. And that's why I believe that this important community work is important. Dr. Joy DeGruy says, if we're to move forward, ahead and thrive, we need to truly understand and accept who we are as people. Using our strength, we need to heal from the injuries of our history. We need to heal ourselves. We need to heal our families. We need to heal our community. And so being better together, I love that when you talked about that at the Dr. Martin Luther King last year, it's just really powerful because we do it as community. And so we're no longer spreading that pain into the community. So rather than avoiding the pain, we address the pain and we clean ourselves. So what I'm saying to community is that we have a lot of power. Collectively, we are powerful. But if we still carry the trauma and the pain, yes, things are still going to happen. But as we're processing that pain, as we're healing from that pain, we're not taking old pain into the next generation. As one writer says, he called it dirty pain. Destructive force of pain lives within the stored body. And so when we heal that pain, then we enter into the next generation, the next day in a new way, living to the fullness of who we are. So I think that's I don't know what other words I could put around it, other than that, to continue to heal. And it's an ongoing cycle. And oftentimes we've not done that as individuals. We've not done that as community. And that's so important.
I love it. What I love about everything you say is that you're very much committed to what we can do together, but it's really about what we can do for ourselves as well. Like put the mask on yourself, heal thyself, right? And then you're able to show up in community as we continue the journey. And you use words like journey, saying again, similar language, similar approaches, because we're basically saying the same thing, right? We do know how to show up in community, and we know how to help people to truly thrive. Dane, I think we have another video we wanted to share real quick. And it's actually this opportunity.
Do you want to get better?
People say they're going to get their health together, I'm going to lose some weight. Gyms make 80% of their signups in January. And by March, they ain't seen them people no more.
Dust off those resolutions. Let's resurrect the resolutions.
Do you want to get better?
Decisions determine your destiny, y'all. Dr. Lindy said by March, you haven't seen those people who made resolutions, said we were going to get healthy. 80% of human beings who make resolutions by March, they are no longer aligned. It's partially because we haven't done what you said, daily show up and choose yourself. Choose one thing you're going to do that's aligned with that goal. That's part of what this 6 weeks of practice is like you get to show up differently. You're creating new neural pathways. So your brain is like, oh, okay, I understand now how I'm supposed to show up. So when you think about transformation and you hear what he just said about, we make these resolutions, these declarations, but we don't follow up. What advice do you normally give to people about what they can do to help really show up the way they want to show up?
Well, first of all, I don't believe in resolutions. I do believe in setting goals.
Yes.
And goals for me are guiding opportunities, achieving life success. And so when we set goals, we identify needs, and then we set goals. Then the goals become a benchmark. It holds us accountable to achieving something on an ongoing basis. Because you're right, resolutions are short-lived. We're not trying to do resolution. I love the word, I think I heard you say it earlier, is resurrection. Resurrect me into a new person, a new being, that I rise in a new person and leaving the old behind me. But I got to process the old in order to rise into that newness. So, so what I tell people all the time, one of the most powerful instrument that we have available to us is our stories. I facilitate circles on to be heard, to be healed, to find hope. And you can only, and that's what I believe this work that you're doing is you're embarking upon is really important, because part of that is we get to tell our story. The benefit of telling stories is listening to others and being heard and taken serious. The benefit of our stories is the ability to also unify people and to connect people together. So I think this work is really deep work. It's deep work and it's important work, but it also, I'm accountable now because I'm going to show up next week, and I've set in my circle, however, I don't know what the process is going to be, or just accountable to someone else other than myself, that I got to work on this. I got to work on the saboteurs, and I got to think about the saboteurs and how they're affecting my life and how I can improve those. So it's becoming aware and then setting a goal, guiding opportunity for achieving life success. It's an ongoing process.
I love that so much. And we do plan to bring in these concepts of these healing circles, right? Debrina likes to say, Traci, don't use the word transformation unless you're creating a space for people to go deep.
Yes.
Right. Like this isn't, this is about us really being willing to, and everyone's not ready. That's why I love when the pastor says, do you want to get better? Because you may not really want to get better, and that too is okay. Right. I say people can engage in this a number of different ways. Right. One way is you can just show up and say, I want to hear, I'm interested in, right? I'm interested in what's happening. I want to hear what's going on. Another way is you can say, I'm going to opt in. Like, I'm going to show up every week and I'm going to do what the exercises are. And then the third way is you can be like, I'm all in. Not only am I showing up every week, but I'm going to do something every day toward my goals so that each week there's a cumulative effect. So again, I'm interested in, I'm opting in, and I'm all in, right? So the three ways you can engage says either way, you're going to be better off than saying I'm not in. Because being in, that is the win.
Yeah. Even if you just show up, even if you say nothing. I've been in circles where people will always, pass. And we always have to give people the opportunity. We don't ever want anything to be forced. But those people are changed. I've had them come back and say, you thought I was quiet. I didn't say anything, but I was processing. Because somebody said something that impacted my story and really made me to start to think about who I am and where I need to go. So even if people sat silently, as long as they're in the midst, they are being impacted in a powerful way. So silence is also powerful. So a powerful transformative process, because some people are introverts, so they think more than they talk, So, I just think being in the presence itself is transformative.
It is so true. So we invite everyone. I put the link in the chat. We invite everyone to join us, however that looks like to you. Because if you think you are immune, right, to getting better, then congratulations. You're the only human being that has achieved every goal, right? Even once you've achieved a goal, hopefully there's the next one out there. If you're like, I'm where I want to be in my career, right? Every relationship I have is thriving, right? You could decide if you have a financial goal, if your health is where you want it to be. Like it's like that circle of life, right? You think about loving yourself up. You want to be able to identify some area in your life. We hope many, many things are going well, but we also know that there's an opportunity when there's an area that you want to get better, right? There's typically some other people that are with you that can help you get better or go on that journey with you. So I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited. I cannot believe we only have 15 minutes left, Miss Dr. Linda. So I think we have another video to share.
Do you want to get better?
Be not afraid. We got to deal with these feelings, because if we don't, it's going to get in the way of anything else.
When you don't process trauma, it builds up inside of you. And so when you're interacting with others, then that's what you're passing along to them.
Do you want to get better?
Decisions determine your destiny, y'all. I don't know why I love that so much. That guy said, do you want to get better? That's really the question. Do you want to get better? And if you do, we know that we got to deal with that stuff underneath. We got to deal with those emotions. We got to deal with the trauma. We got to deal with the things. Because he said, if you don't deal with the things, you both said the same thing. It's going to not only influence you and harm you as it relates to your performance, it's going to impact your relationships and everyone around you. So going deep, being willing to get better, right, is about you, but it's also about everyone around you. Dr. Linda.
Yes.
If you had to really pause and say, right now in my life, and you're talking to someone who has said what you and the pastor both just said, you got to deal with it. And I have to be honest, I was one of those people where I'm like, I don't deal with emotions. I don't deal with my feelings. I bury them and keep it moving because I pretend like they didn't happen. Right. And that's where Debrina uses language like gunk and junk kind of builds up on the inside, because you think you're not dealing with it, but it's going to show up in another way. That's why the saboteurs have little signals. It's like, do you see this happening in your life? So what would you say to someone who basically might be uncomfortable dealing with their feelings or even acknowledging that they have saboteurs?
Wow. What would I say to someone? Well, one of the things that I say to people is I try to get people to the place. I ask them a question. How are you feeling about yourself? Are you content? Are you happy? Are you at your greatest? I'm trying to dive into what people are thinking is really important. So I just try and talk to people and try and get them to touch the wound inside of them. What's hurting them. So then normally that's just guided by a question. I talk about really trying to ask the person, do you know yourself? And that's one of the pathways that people have to begin to understand in order to progress I think Dr. Braxton talked about that was the will to know oneself. Do you really know yourself? And if you can answer yes to that, then life must be good. But most people will pause on that. No, do I really know myself? And so sometimes it's around the questions. I think questions are really important. Inquiry of the soul, as we like to say, to begin to have a person to tap into themselves so they have an openness to the inner reality of what's going on around them. And that's, I want to go back to the story, our stories. Embedded within our stories are who we are. Sometimes we hold things close to our hearts, like you say, our emotions and things. But we have to begin to examine ourselves by asking ourselves questions. I believe it's Socrates says that an unexamined life is not worth living. Now, this sounds pretty harsh, but what he was really saying was that unless I examine my life and begin to ask myself questions, and I think that's what the survey does. The survey sort of opens you up to an inner reality is I need to check in with me. Who am I? How do I react to these things? What kind of emotions am I holding on to? Why am I holding on to these emotions? And that's the importance of the ongoing work of examining oneself, telling ourselves the truth, facing the truth, and then just having that will and that determination to progress. I want to be better. And it all starts within us. I mean, it's the inner person. It doesn't start outwards. We can't make ourselves happy by outward things. But it's the inside out. What's contained on the inside of me. And what do I need to do as a person? Because no one can do that for you. You got to do it for yourself. But in community, there is a more support around you that you're able to achieve and overcome and continue to grow and to be transformed into that. As Howard, I believe it's Howard Thurman says, the genius that you are. We all have a genius inside of us. And are you living your genius? And not there, let us stop and examine why we're not doing that. What are the blockages, that's stopping me? What are my obstacles?
I love that.
A deep soul work that we have to do for ourselves to continue to be able to be transformed.
I love it. Reverend Dr. Linda Smith, what is the name of your book again?
The Pathway to the Soul.
The Pathway to the Soul. And the last time we were talking, you used the term pathway because part of what we're doing, even with this work, is we're laying out a roadmap. I think Debrina was like, you got to have a plan, right? You got to have a clear destination. We always saying, first you got to start. Pastor Braxton was saying, when you got a map, you have to start with, I am here. So doing an assessment of where am I? Then you can decide where am I going to go from here. But you got to first, it says, where am I? Honestly assess, where you are. And then create a space to move forward. So if you were thinking about that journey, the like you just said, being clear on where I am, how are these saboteurs potentially showing up in our lives, and then being clear on where do I want to go? Like, we only have a few minutes left, and I think one of the most powerful things about this transformational journey that we're going to be taking people on is really this visioning of the future, getting excited about the goals, right? You gave an acronym for goals, right? Being in a space where you can, the guiding opportunities for achieving life success. Those are your goals. So let's talk about the importance of visualizing and having very clear goals, clear expectation, a clear vision for what you want to see, and then celebrating every little step along the way that you take day in and day out, moment by moment. I say decisions determine your destiny, y'all, because decisions that you make really do determine your destiny. So let's talk a little bit about goals and the visioning and how important that is to see the future that you desire and to celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really deep question, and that's what hope is. Hope is about envisioning the something greater for your life, whether that's your spiritual life, your personal life, and your professional life. So we're talking about the inner person, the spiritual stuff. It's like envisioning what is it that I want to have for my life. Do I want to wake up every day with just being positive and believing that I can achieve the things that I physically set for my life? Even we went back to like going to the gym, we have a goal, but you're not going to achieve the goal in the gym until your mind is in that right space. So having that will and that desire, one of the we have to have practices that are integrated into our lives, like meditation, mindfulness, gratitude. It's called self-care. Because when we can meditate and we are mindful of the things that's going on, the saboteurs, we got to be mindful. I know when the saboteurs are attacking me because I'm intentionally mindful about that. And it may be at the end of every day is just writing out what was life giving for me today, and what was destructive, or what saboteurs started to control of my life. Now that enables you, as you move forward, to be more aware. So awareness, intentionality, and practicing, having some good self-care healing practices like meditation and mindfulness and spirit of gratitude and that reflection are really key things in terms of being able to continue to move forward. And that is that vision that you talked about, that imagination of having that greater and better life and living better and being better together. That is the only way that will be created for us as individuals, and then collectively, like I say, you'll see the difference when you work on yourself. Your interaction with people is going to totally change.
It totally changes. And I use the language living powerfully because not only does your interaction with other people change, but when you're alone, your peace, it reduces your stress, it increases your happiness, because we have something called the sage perspective, which is basically every situation can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. That means right now, you guys can probably see big boxes in my backyard, in my back. Like I'm literally moving right now out of this place. The house that I live in was sold to an investor. So I have to be out. Today's the 29th. I'll be out by tomorrow. Got a lot of work done. I still got some more work to do. And I don't know. I'm going to be in transitional housing for at least a month, trying to figure out my next step. But I'm enjoying the journey. It's like some people might be stressed out about this situation. And I'm like, you know what? God has got me. Every situation can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. I bet I've been cleansing. I bet I've been getting rid of a lot of more stuff than I would have if I was just moving to another place. So I'm seeing the blessing in it. And I think there's, diamonds are made under pressure. So I'm under a little pressure, but I'm smiling all the way because God has got me. Right. The science says if I believe that there's a gift and that something better is happening, it will. That's exciting. Right.
Yeah, when you're at peace with yourself, you're at peace with the situations that you encounter because you know they will pass. Yes. So you're not stressing out about them.
Yes.
So yeah.
I'm excited. Dr. Linda, thank you so much for joining us this week. You're wonderful. Next week, we have Dr. Linda. We have Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton. We have Debrina Jackson-Gandy. We are going to be right here. Thank you. Monday, May 6th, we're kicking off a 6-week series. We promise it to be transformational. We're bringing in the science around transformation. It is better together, and this is how you live powerfully, y'all. This is about getting healthier, getting happier, getting wealthier, and getting wiser. So join us. Join us. We are so excited. Thank you so much, Linda. And next, right here on Rainier Avenue Radio is Lid Line Sports, hosted by Pep and O. So we'll see you next week, y'all. Thank you.